I was sitting here tonight trying to think out what I was going to say for this review, thinking many different ways and what I was going to put and how I was going to say it, and it just suddenly occurred to me that I remember back in the day, owning a single game, console for one game would have been ludicrous, and I would have laughed at you. But if you'd have told me, if you'd have told me, wow, you need to get a PS3 for this game and this alone, you don't need to buy anything else. I mean, your purchase will be validated with the fact this one game. I'd have laughed. I really would have laughed at you and said, yeah, whatever, mate, in it. And hopefully not like that, because I would have needed a slap. But you get the idea. But Valkyria Chronicles is that kind of game. It is something I'd happily, literally, just have a PlayStation 3 and that one game for. I wouldn't feel bad about my purchase. I'd feel that that was money well spent. And the reason for that is that Valkyria Chronicles is an absolutely fantastic, fantastic game. And I unfortunately don't think it got as much sales as it should have done, really. It's kind of feeling a bit similar to Hit Near here, kind of preaching to the faithful. But you get the idea where the game itself is that good, you just need to pick it up. But then you look at the game and you think, why on earth is this not a multi-million seller? Like, why did everyone pass it over? So, if you haven't played it, I can explain why I love it. And if you have played it, I hope you agree with me. So I was just going to go over the basic stuff like I normally do for a review. I'm going to try and be objective as much as I can here. I obviously do have a bias here. I do thoroughly enjoy the game, but then this is what it is. A review is my opinion. If you don't like my opinion, you probably shouldn't be listening to this, really. Or you make it your own opinion and tell me how wrong I am. That'd be better. A constructive argument. I like those. I'm going to start basically with the story and the setting, just to get you sort of... Let's get the game set. Okay, so, it's an alternate Europe. We've had a First World War of sorts already, and we're about to enter a Second World War. You play a character from the country of Gallia, which is kind of, I guess, a Belgium-y, Polandish sort of area where you've got a war almost going on two fronts, where you've got two gigantic empires eyeballing your resources. You've got the empire itself, which is from on the right, if you like, and they are about to invade. This is how the story gets off. And you've got the Federation to the left, which is kind of like the Allies, and they kind of want all your goodies too, but going in a bit of a sneaky way about it. So that's the basic setting. So your main character is a chappie called Welkim, and he's the son of a general. He's just chilling out, minding his own business, going to his hometown, when suddenly, blah blah blah, invasion. The actual story itself is fantastic. It doesn't pull any punches. It's mature, sensible, funny, charming, witty, but most of all, it really gets you engrossed, and because of the way the game is set out with a squad, and you pick your own squad, you hand tune it, you choose exactly who you want in it for your little army squad, you really get attached to these people. I mean, it's very like Fire Emblem if you've ever played it, where you want to keep all these people alive. It's your duty. I actually did a ranking run, or an S ranking run, sorry, of I think it's S rank. It might be A rank, I'm forgetting. Point aside, I did a maximum rank run where I made sure I saved everybody, even if it almost put my rank at jeopardy. My rank was actually less important to me than looking after these characters, which sounds very silly, especially if you it's not an achievement such, but it's more of a personal pride thing. I really wanted to do this game that way, and I would actually go out of my way to not pull this off just to rescue one of my teammates, and I did. But I actually still managed it. I was very pleased with myself. But, yeah, you get so attached to these characters, you care so much about them, because, you've invested the time, you can see the little side stories, you can read their biographies, you can see the little chit-chat, they all have their own personalities and their own little quirks, and that's what's great about them. From the guy who hates your main character because he's in love with the girl of your love interest, and to the really weird sort of racist dude who's such a racist asshole, you actually hate him for that reason, but he's a real hateful guy, but he's your best sniper, and you think, God, like, all these characters, such time and love invested into them, and it really, really shows. And I'm completely whittering on about something I should have easily skipped over by now, but they bring the game to life alone. And then, of course, you've got this big overarching story, all these characters. Oh, it's fantastic. I'm going to move straight from the story to the graphics. The graphics are something completely unique. It reminds me somewhat of Okami's style, where it's that sort of cel-shaded, watery colour kind of thing. Whereas Okami's a bit more, I'd say less clear, if that makes more sense, where, it's a very sweeping sort of brushstroke style, whereas Valkyria Chronicles was more canvas. I think they actually call it the canvas engine, which makes sense. And it kind of looks like sort of hand-drawn, hand-painted. It looks fantastic in motion, and I've put a video at the end, of which I've stolen off the internet somewhere, you can have a look at, which sort of shows how it looks in the intro. But graphically, it's really incredible. Like, all the little details, like you get the little writing coming off the back of the tanks that says hum 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 as they move, and things like go brr 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 as you're moving along, and like the cannon shots, all the little clouds. Oh, it's amazing, it's marvelous. You get the idea. It's absolutely stunning. And of course, I'm not going to rate on how great it looks, just because I've decided not to do that. But aesthetically, the question is, does it do what it needs to set out to do? And the answer is yes. It creates its own very unique, interesting look, which sets out the world completely different from everything else. And you'll never forget it once you've seen it. And I think, graphically, that's what you should be setting out to do. If you've made generic, brown, bland sort of game, then you're doing it wrong. That's what I think. You know, if everything looks the same, then you've got nothing to shout out. You haven't got anything that says, look at me, this is unique, this is different. This is what you should be looking at. All you've got is generic, brown, everything looks the same, and dark and dusky. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing necessarily for all games, but I think you should have your own unique style. I'm not saying, for example, Gears of War. Gears of War is a brilliant, beautiful looking game, and it's very dark and dull, but I think that's the sort of setting it's gone for. It's gone for that kind of look, and it suits it. Now, I think that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And the same on the opposite scale, I think Valkyria Chronicles has gone for the beautiful, colourful canvas look, and that suits it great as well. I think that's the way you should be doing it, making it unique. Right. Going from the graphics, because I could preach to you all day about how those look, but you need to see it in motion. Just take my word for it until the end of the video, if you can put up with me rambling for so long. Going on to the sound effects and the music. The sound effects do what they need to do. The guns sound like guns. They go clack, clack, bang, bang, smash. The cries of your teammates getting shot. You know, you feel every shot. You feel every rumble, every cannon fire. You feel like you're really invested and you're there. And that's, again, sound effects doing what they should do. Nothing absolutely outstanding, but it comes along, does its thing. It says, hey, I'm a sound effect. You know what I'm representing. And you say, okay, I'm happy with that. That's done. You know, it's not terrible. No weird sounds out of place. No sounds cutting out on you. No bugs or glitches in the sound. Soundtrack is brilliant and moving. The soundtrack has powerful sort of rushing sounds and music as you're in a really sort of intense situation. It has sort of like calmer, soothing things when the team's unwinding and you're having a bit of backstory, to very sad piano pieces when, you know, shit gets real, if you like. And I think, you know, it's a great soundtrack, but not the most memorable one. It fits the setting, but doesn't scream amazing at me. That's the thing. It does what it again, like the sound effects, it comes and does what it needs to do. It fits every single bit. There's nothing that's out of place, but doesn't scream, hey, you need to listen to me all day, every day. But that's fine. I'm okay with that. I've got Nier for my soundtrack needs. I've got other games for my soundtrack needs. If I want to listen to something like Castlevania or something, this fits the setting it's in. It's beautiful, should we say? I hate to use the term. It sounds very cheesy, but it's, you know, you get beautiful sweeping tracks in it that fit the setting and fit the scenes they're in. That's good. There's nothing I'm going to hum all day, except for maybe the title theme. That's pretty catchy. But, you know, there we go. Nice tunes, fits it, but nothing to write home about, I'd say, in my opinion. Now it comes down to the gameplay, really. Does it actually hold up? I mean, the story and setting and the graphics and the sound are all well and good, but if it sucks, then what's the point? But luckily it does. It's a unique take on kind of like a mixture of real-time strategy and sort of like turn-based, I guess. Basically, you got your main combat screen. You start off by positioning your units, selecting who you want to take into battle with you, and then, once you've done that, you can place them singly in whichever spots are allocated. Once you've done that, you select a unique character, such as, let's say, Welkin, who's the tank driver. You select your tank, it zooms down to ground level, and you control it in real time. You can fire once per turn, and basically that's all you get, but you can still move afterwards. You have a timer of sorts, a movement gauge, where you can move and do actions up to a certain point, then you have to stop and end the go. You have basically what they're called, I think the command point it's called, where one command point you cost one command point to move one unit. Make sense? I hope I'm not confusing everyone. And you use this to move your characters wherever you want or shoot. Then you end your go. Then if you want to move another one, you spend another command point to move the next guy, or move the same guy with less timer. The timer shrinks every time you use it. And eventually you get, say, 10 per turn. Once you've done that, you end your go, and the computer has his go. Fairly standard. It's a mixture between turn-based and real-time. Makes sense. But it's the strategy involved that makes it interesting. There's so many variety of ways of doing missions. You can set up snipers to give you covering fire. You can get scouts to do big scout runs to do things, which scouts will let you run, can move really, really far, but aren't as strong as other characters. Use shock troopers that don't run very far, but do lots of damage. Use the lancers, which can blow up tanks, but again can't move very far. You've got all sorts of different units to use with, at your disposal. It luckily works out to being really fun. It sounds a bit complicated, but it's not as bad as it seems, and everything's gradually introduced, as with most decent games, which have a non-tutorial, but kind of let you sort of sit you through it a bit. It's also got RPG elements, where you gain experience every single battle, depending on your rank, which is why you want to aim for the A ranks. Yeah. These ranks let you level up your characters, or you can spend them doing other things, depending. I'm not going to say too much, because it might spoil a few bits, but basically you can level up, kind of like an RPG style. You level up your entire squad of people. Say you want to level up the scouts, the snipers, that kind of thing. You don't level up individual units. So that makes sense. Oh, and the computer's gone black. Please don't do that, computer. I'm trying to talk. It's very confusing. But moving on, the game is also difficult. I wouldn't say it's brutally difficult, but it gives you a nice challenge. It has a decent learning curve. It actually sweeps upwards rather than going vertical or zigzagging up and down. It never pushes you too hard that it's frustrating, but it will kill you and say do it again if you fluff up, you know. And you don't slam the controller down and go, God, this is irritating. You go, oh, okay, that strategy didn't work. What can I do to fix that? And that's where it really shines. When you've got a game where the gameplay is interesting enough, you don't want to like beat your gran up every time it annoys you. So I'd say it wins on the gameplay front, definitely. And overall, is it fun? That's the thing. Is it enjoyable? It does everything to come together to make it fun, and it does. You know, I love the game. I mean, hopefully that's pretty much obvious. I'm sure there's a few people out there it wouldn't sit with, but I'd say for the majority of people who may have passed this over, why? Take another look. If you got a PS3 and you haven't got this, it's probably like a tenner. It's like $7, £10. You know, pick it up. It really is worth a go. And it's one of the exclusives. Again, like I said before, it's worth owning the PlayStation 4 because it is that fun. There's loads of missions. There's plenty of content. There's download content if that's your thing as well. There's not much. There's a couple of mission packs that I think you get a substantial amount on, so they're pretty decently priced as well. And overall, it just really is a good game worth picking up. There isn't many negatives about it I can really think of. The only thing is it's a bit arbitrary and a bit picky, but as a negative point, if I'm trying to be a bit fair here, the loading times are really bad. You have to install the game. You don't have to install the game. I suggest you do so because it makes the bad, terrible loading times just awful instead of like god awful. So that's the only real problem with it. But then once it's loaded in, you're done for the mission. So if you're gonna do a sort of one sitting, it's okay. Really, there's not much more to say. My general verdict is yeah, go for it. Again, don't do scores as always, but I would recommend the game. Very highly recommend it if you've got a PS3. If you don't, again, if you've got a bit of spare cash, I know not many people do these days, but if you get a chance and there's other things as well you think will make it, if you don't think this game alone is worth it, and you think, I might want a PS3 one day, grab it, pick it up. It is really, really good. And hell, pick up Demon's Souls while you're at it. That's really good too, but that's for another day. Yeah, thanks for listening for me rambling about this. I know they're not the most subjective sort of reviews. They're not the most professional reviews I do. I just kind of say my opinion on a topic, and I'm really pleased with the people that do enjoy them. They are a bit different from the old IGN reviews where you're going, your graphics, 7 out of 10. We give this 7 out of 10 because it looks shiny. Yes, where 7 out of 10 is a bad score these days, apparently. Whereas I personally class 7 out of 10 as quite above average. But that's because I kind of grew up with decent review scores instead of the garbage we've got now. Oh, well, that's just journalistic stuff. Rage! Completely different topic. But yeah, I'm going to put the trailer on now for Valkyria Chronicles. I hope you enjoy watching the intro. It really is good, and you can see exactly what I mean as it moves in motion. It's quite stunning. Thoughts and opinions, please. If you disagree with me, please tell me, and tell me why. I'd love to hear it. That's the entire point of these. It's my opinion. I'd love to hear your opinion. So go ahead, tell me. The next review will be back to the LPs as usual. I know some of you complain I don't have the footage, and unfortunately I don't have a way of recording this. If I did, I would love to. So I hope you can forgive the static picture for this review, and maybe just listen to it like as a podcast thing. I don't know. Anyway, thank you. I'm going to stop rambling now. I could talk for ages about these sort of games, and that's another one of my games I've reviewed that I love, and I hope you'll give the time of day if you get a chance. Oh, before it ends, a load of people messaged me and said you picked up Nier, like, because of the last review. I'm really pleased. I think that's a great decision. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you hate Nier, of course, send me the hate mail at the usual address, but, you know, if you love Nier and you bought it, great. Thank you very much. I'm glad you gave that game a look. And for the same thing, if you haven't given Valkyria Chronicles a look, trust me. If you bought Nier and you want another thing to play, trust me on this one too. It's great. Thank you very much, guys, and until next time.